Hey guys, I forgot to add this into my video, like it's happened before, but whatever, this is the challenge for the factors, where we print out the factor pairs. I put some comments in because it's a bit confusing how to do this. I'll explain a better way to do this that Evan showed you how to do, but we're going to do the same thing as we did in the factors, okay? So we're going to have, it's going to loop through, start at I, do less than equal to the number. If it's divisible by I with no remainder, then we know it's a factor. To find its pair, we can just take the number and divide it by I. So let's say the number is 10 and I is 2. We say if 10 divided by 2 is no remainder, then it's a factor. The pair is 10 divided by 2, which is 5. So we got 2 and 5. If the pair is less than 2, then if the pair is less than I, then don't print it out. So let's say we were doing 2 and 5. Well, the pair is 5, which is not less than 2. But once we get to 5, we're going to say, well, the pair 5 is 2, which is less than 5, so we don't want to reprint it out. In other words, you don't want to print out 2, 5 and then 5, 2. Just print out 2, 5 and be done. The better way to do this, which I didn't show you how to do, is you can do math.square root, and take in a number, and that returns another number. The reason you do math.square root is because you never need to go higher than the square root of a number when finding factor pairs. If you don't understand that, just comment in the video and I'll explain it more. Else, we're going to print out in parentheses I and the pair. So I'll show you one example before I go to the main video. 108. 1, 108, 2, 54, 3, 36, 4, 27, 6, 18, 19, 9, 12. Any other way you guys thought about figuring this out? If you did figure out the math.square root thing, it's pretty impressive, and that's how you should be doing it. But because I haven't shown you how to do that, I thought, I'll just do it this way. Bit more confusing, but you guys would know how to do it. So I'll see you guys in the main video. Hey, what's up guys? This is Fatal Cubes here. And in this video, we will be making our first game. This is another Java programming tutorial series video, and we will be making a guessing game. So how's the game going to work? The computer is going to pick a random number from 1 to 100, and the user has a certain number of guesses to guess that number. The computer will relay information back, depending on the guess, saying guess higher or guess lower, or you got the right answer. So let's get right into it. So the first thing we need to do, remember from last video, you need to create a scanner for user input, and I'm going to name it scanner. And we're going to pass in system.in because it's going to be a console-based game. Go ahead and hit Control-Shift-O to import that. And there's actually one more thing we need to import. Not import, but create. Random equals new random. Nothing in the parentheses, and just put semicolon there. Hit Control-Shift-O to input random as well. And random is another Java class. So what random does is it can give you random numbers, random decimals, whatever. There's a lot of functions random has. And we're going to be using one today called .nextInt, and you'll see that in a moment. So let's go ahead and initialize some variables. So we need a variable to keep track of how many guesses the user has left to determine if they've lost the game. We need a random number. This is the number that the user is trying to guess. We need their guess. We need the max number, meaning the highest the number can be, so 0 to what? And in this case, it's going to be 0 to 100. And a boolean called guessing. Now this is going to be a two-part series. In this first part, we will be making a more simple version of the game. In the next part of the series, we will be expanding on the game, creating rounds, point system, and guesses that go higher and higher. So like the max num increases 50 each round, let's say. But in this one, we're just going to be doing the simple stuff. Just one number that the user has to guess and whatnot. So let's first have a print statement saying welcome to the guessing game. And another print statement here called you start out with this many guesses. And we're gonna do plus guesses left. So we want to tell the user how many guesses left they have. And in this case, it's gonna print out you have 8 guesses left because that's what you start with. And then we're gonna say guess a number from 0 to, and then whatever the max number is. If this changes, it may be 0 to 200, maybe 0 to 50. In our case, it's gonna be 0 to 100. Now, if you haven't guessed already, we're going to need a while loop, because what we're basically going to do is create a loop that goes through and says, well, what does the user want to guess? And then takes that number and returns should you guess higher or lower next time, and then repeats. So let's create that while loop, but before we can do that, we need to set our random number. So our random num has to be equal to random.next int, in the parentheses type in 100 and do +1. Random.nextInt 100 will, let's hover over this, read what it says, returns a pseudo-random uniformly distributed int value between 0 inclusive and the specified value exclusive. So this will return a number from 0 to 99, both inclusive. But the reason we're adding 1 is because we don't want the number to be 0. It's just going to be anywhere between 0 and 100. It can be 100. You may want to make this more clear that 0 will not be a valid number, but 100 will be. If you want, you can add in a print statement like that. I'm not going to. So anyways, let's go ahead and create our while loop. So we created that boolean called guessing because that's basically them playing the game. So while guessing will be set to false once they lose the game and they run out of guesses, or if they win the game. And so the first thing we want to do, let's create some space for ourselves and print out guess. And this is where we're going to take in some information. We're going to say guess equals scanner.nextInt. Remember, that's how we find what the input is. And our guess is our integer value that we created up here. Do if the guess is greater than random number. So if it's greater than our random number that we figured out earlier, we're going to print out that guess is too high. Guess lower. And then we're going to do guesses left minus minus. That's how you decrement. Plus plus increments by 1, minus minus subtracts 1. You could also do guesses left equals guesses left minus 1, or guesses left minus equals 1. But this is the easiest way to decrement by 1. We're going to create else if the guess is less than the random number. Then print out that guess is too low. Guess higher. And again, we're going to do guesses left minus minus. And in here, we're going to have one last else statement that's basically going to say, you got it. You got it. Nice job. So this is basically if they win the game right here. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to do guessing equals false break. The reason we're going to break at this point in time is because outside of these else statements, we want to print one more thing. We first want to add in a check. If guesses left equals 0 equals 0, you need 2 equal signs when comparing in an if statement. Then you have to print out, whoops, looks like you ran out of guesses. And set guessing to false. This will again exit out of the loop, and that basically signify the end of the game. And again, we want to break here. And at the very end, we want to print out guesses left plus guesses left. And then we want to have one last print statement for formatting purposes, just an empty space. And at the very bottom, so you hit here, and it'll hover what line closes this. So we want to go outside of here, and at the very end, do scanner.close. Just to make sure that we get rid of that error there. And there we go. This is our simple guessing game. So let's go ahead and play it. But I just want to first explain something. The reason we break here is because if we don't break, it's going to print out guesses left. Once you got it, once you win the game, it doesn't need to print out this statement here. So break will put us outside here to scanner.close, and that'll end it. Same thing with whoops, looks like you ran out of guesses. It doesn't also need to print out guesses left is 0. It's really not worth it. So let's go ahead and play it. So see if you can win. Run this. Hold on. Okay, there we go. You start out with as many guesses, 8. Guess a number from 0 to 100. We're going to split it in half because that's the best strategy. That guess is too low, guess higher. We're going to split it again, too low, higher, 82. Even though that's not really in half. I just realized, but it says that guess is too high. So we're going to do 78. Oh, dang, okay. So, yeah, I hit an error because I actually typed in extra characters. So let's just rerun that for a second here. That was my fault. 50 doesn't handle anything else. Guess too high, lower, too low, higher. 37 too high. Let's do 33. Too high, 30. Too high, 28. Ooh, this is getting close. We have 26. You got it. Nice job. That's going to exit out of the program. There we go. We got the number, and that's the guessing game. Now, let's say you, or that's the error. Okay, so let's say you were to lose. So if I guess 0, and you guess 0 over and over, it's going to say that's too low. Guess higher. Whoops, looks like you ran out of guesses, and that's going to end the program. Now, the reason this is part 1 of this video on the guessing game is because in the next part we're going to make it a little more complicated. We're going to make it more like a game rather than just a simple guesser of numbers. So I'll see you guys in that video in a few moments.